Welcome back. Next, let's look at the life cycle of TDD. The life cycle of TDD is called red-green refactor, and it proceeds and iterates as shown in the diagram in the center of the screen there. Red is the first step. This is where we start. Red is the color that we usually associate with a failing test. So it's a traffic light symbolism comes into it. So red is a failing test, and I think we saw this with the examples earlier on in Visual Studio. Whenever a test was failing, it came up as red. So we start with a failing test. A failing test is a test that either fails at runtime because the conditions of the test aren't being met. This is the assertion step. Or it can also be because the test is unable to compile. So we'll have a look at that when we get started with our comprehensive TDD example shortly. Once we've got a failing test, the red, we move on to step number 2. 2 is green. Green means we had a failing test, we've written enough implementation code to make the test pass. The test passes, and the unit test and the implementation code are in sync. So now we've got our implementation code, we've got our passing test. Should we stop here? Well, no, not quite. Now comes step number 3, which is refactor. The refactor step is where we improve our code, whether it's the production or implementation code or our test code. In fact, we will improve both of these. The refactor step doesn't always exist, so sometimes there isn't anything to refactor, but when it does exist, we will do both. We will refactor the test code to make it as easy to understand and as easy to read as possible, and we also improve our production code, our code that makes the program run, so that in a similar way, it's as easy to read, easy to understand. The program is structured in the best possible way. So for both production code and for unit test code, we will undertake the refactor step. And then it's back to step 1, where either we extend our existing test that we've just written and gone through the cycle with, or we will write a new test whereby that's now failing and we will need to go to green, refactor, and so on. It is worthwhile noting that the iterations for each cycle, red, green, refactor, is maybe on the order of a few seconds to a minute to a few minutes. Okay, we should be able to go to a state where everything is working, but just by going kind of Control-Z a few times. So if at any point in time something isn't working, you should just be able to go undo, 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 and then everything is in a working state again. Should just kind of go back a cycle, if you will, if it kind of came down to it. So we're always on the cusp of everything working, and this is brilliant.